live.
It's recorded.
we're hot, right? All right. What's going on, guys? Dr. Matt here, host of the Roadie Strength podcast. We are starting a very special series, the Punching Up series, a podcast series dedicated to healthy families and strong communities around Providence. I got my co-host sitting right next to me, Josh Sellers. What's going on, man?
What's happening, man?
And we got first two guests for this series. We have Enrique Sanchez. What's going on?
How you doing? Thanks for having us.
And brother Miguel Sanchez.
How's it going, Matt? Thanks for having us.
So, just to give you guys quick intros, and then we'll get right into some of the rapid fire questions here. Oh, and I should mention, we're at Gloves Up, Guns Down in Rhode Island, off of Silver Lake?
Silver Lake Ave.
Silver Lake Ave, yeah. So, shout out Lamont, shout out Valencia Collections,
Yep.
which you're rocking right now.
Yep, got the sweatshirt on, so
And shout out West End Boxing Club.
appreciate that.
So this place is beautiful. Right when I walked in, I'm like, oh, there's something special happening here. So
No, Lamont's a good dude. He's been doing this for a few years. Gloves Up, Guns Down is a program dedicated to the youth, trying to get everybody off the streets and provide them a safer environment where they can come in here, they can learn the foundations of boxing, and it's a great place. And we, just looking to keep it moving and make some noise, get some support, and just keep pushing.
love it. All right, so just to give a quick, brief intro, and we'll get much more into you guys' bios in a second. So, Enrique, you are in the Rhode Island House of Representatives in District 9, which is...
which includes the communities of the Upper South Side, the West End, Oneyville, Silver Lake, and Hartford Park. Not every entire community, but it does reach each and every single of those communities.
Awesome.
Yep.
Really cool. And then, Miguel, you are Providence City Councilor of Ward 6.
Yep. So Ward 6 is made up of mostly Mount Pleasant neighborhood, a little bit of Oneyville, Manton, a little bit of the Valley parts of the city.
Cool. Love it. All right. And so we'll get right into some of our rapid fire questions here. So just to start us off, I know I'm drinking the Dunkin' here because I was a little low on time. I usually go to LaSalle before a podcast like this, but start off with your favorite coffee shop. So Miguel, we can start with you.
Oh, I feel like we gotta give it up to White Electric, the co-op over in the West End.
That place is awesome. Right near CFP.
Right. CFP is CrossFit Providence.
How about you, Enrique?
I love supporting all local small businesses. So yeah, White Electric is good. 7 Stars on Broadway.
They're awesome.
There's also one that opened up recently. It's in Cranston though. It's called Cafe. It's a Latin-owned cafe.
Cool.
A couple own it, and it's called Cafe Ava, I believe. Cafe Ava, yeah, which is very cool environment, very good food, good breakfast sandwiches, donuts, everything, coffee, and it's pretty cool.
What's the go-to order?
I'd say just the regular American coffee, and I mean it's American coffee and a Latin-owned business, right? But no, it's good. It's a good place, and sandwiches, a lot of Hispanic foods there too.
Nice. All right, we got to check it out.
Awesome.
What do you got? What's your favorite?
Same as last time. I'm gonna go with White Electric and
Nice.
Nitro. I like Nitro.
I
on
like
Broadway.
Nitro.
Nice.
Yeah, that's slamming.
I shouted out LaSalle. That's gonna be my answer for that one.
Sounds good.
Next one, we got favorite go-to breakfast. So it's the same answer. That's fine. But it's favorite go-to breakfast spot. And if you like making your breakfast at home better, tell me what you make. Is that you, Miguel?
Yeah, no, I'll probably go with either like Mi Guatemala or Mi Establo. They're both Guatemalan joints in my neighborhood. I really
Cool.
do enjoy the Guatemalan breakfast. It's usually just beans, some cheese, either some meat, sour cream, just the basics. But that sometimes is all you need
Sweet.
to start the day.
Love that.
I'm gonna have to give a shout out to the West Side Diner.
Yeah.
Great spot for breakfast. Also, Mi Ranchito in Oneyville Square, Guatemalan-owned restaurant. I mean, they sell at the West Side Diner. They have, regular coffee. They have sandwiches, eggs, scrambled eggs, sunny side, home fries, all of that. All the local breakfast
Sweet.
is all you need. Yeah.
Is that right on Broadway?
No, it's on Westminster Street.
Oh, Westminster. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
Yeah, that's right over by the park.
The park. Yep.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna say, give me a pineapple and a mango. and a coffee from White Electric on Nitro.
And you're
I'm
good to go.
I'm good. Let's go.
All right, perfect. All right, so we got a couple more rapid fire for you guys. So next one is favorite podcasts or maybe favorite shows or audiobook series. So maybe something that could be related to what you're doing with politics, could be something related to just hobbies or something you just enjoy, something that you've been listening to recently that you like.
And if you don't say this one, you go to Spar Lamont on Monday.
Definitely the Strength Sports podcast.
Let's go.
No, but something I've always sometimes I don't truly enjoy it, but it's super important in terms of the work that we do. I'm always catching up on talk radio. So like Dan York, the Gene Valcentes, the Tara Granahams, just to have a strong idea of what people are calling into these shows about and voicing their concerns. I would say the politics are definitely a lot different than mine at times, but it's good to have an idea of what's going on in the city in the lens of these folks that are calling in. So I'm always catching up. They always have different guests on and having some really informative conversations on local current events. So that's something that I always do. For something like completely besides politics, some community related, I've always been a big fan of Crime Junkie. That might be a pretty standard podcast these days, but it's something that kind of just lets your mind go somewhere else and not really have to take on what's going on right there and then.
Do they have local episodes on that, Crime Junkie?
No, it's a national podcast.
Yeah.
So.
Cool. Because there was another one for a while, Crime Town. You listen to that one?
Yeah, no,
They had that story about Providence, like back in the day, like Buddy Cianci and all that stuff.
That's awesome. So I mean, when people want to learn about Providence, the historical context, I always tell them to listen to that. Or there's a book called Prince of Providence.
Oh, cool.
By Mike Stan. He used to be a Pro Joe reporter.
Oh yeah.
That are super informative too, in terms of what figures played a big role in making our city the way it is now.
Gotcha. I'll look into that. I'm really interested in that stuff, so that's cool. Nice. What do you got, Enrique?
I listen to the public radio quite a bit. They do a good job there of informing some folks around different issues, topics happening in the city and across the state, different policies being passed at the state house, within city government as well in Providence. Honestly, I'll keep it real with you guys. I have not gotten too much into the podcast scene, and I think I need to start picking it up more with that.
So this is your favorite, is what you're saying?
This is it's already the top. It's already top of the top for sure.
Top three.
No, but I think paying attention to like local politics and local news is important. Yeah, there's you have WPRI, ABC6, you have NBC, all that. But I do get a lot of information from. I want to give a shout out to Uprise, Steve Alquist. I don't know if you guys ever heard of him or not.
Yep.
He's a local
independent
journalist, reporter that does a lot of important research on a lot of key issues happening across the city, across the state. He basically calls out like the bad stuff, the corruption, all the projects happening that
He's a local guy too. Steve
wow. Alquist,
cool.
he lives on the east side of Providence, but he's always out and about across the state. So I want to give him a shout out. But I do want to take the time to also mention we have to do a better job of informing the public around like what's happening at the state house, what's happening in city government. The state house has a channel called Capitol TV, where people have the ability to see what's happening in the during session within the House and within the Senate. But we need to do a lot more of putting like what committees are being heard, what time the session is, what's happening with like the laws that are being out there, like being presented or being passed to the general public in Rhode Island, so that people can just go on their phone and see like on Facebook, oh, these committees are being heard today. This session is happening today, and it's important to pay attention to the session because stuff with abortion, stuff with gun rights, stuff with like different topics, economic development, economic issues are being heard in the House, and that's what I want to see us strive for more.
Yeah.
So I've been talking to other elected officials, other community members, stakeholders about what can we do to make sure that that information is being out there, and it's not just through corporate media that we're seeing this.
Yeah,
this
because there's a lot of probably information that's out there that's really important that's just going over a lot of people's heads, or they're not even seeing it at all.
Exactly.
That's cool. That's good. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. And I think that's why that was the whole premise behind this, was because we're trying to bring awareness to people who are trying to, make the community safer, stronger, healthier. And so, that's what this whole thing is, put together for. So, maybe we can add to that,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Brick by brick, every little thing helps.
That's it, man.
Exactly.
Punch by punch.
Punch by punch. I like that. What are you listening to right now?
Oh man, I've got like 14 like Audible books, like,
Nice.
and they're all like 20 minutes into it. Like wherever I'm driving, I'm gonna listen to that one, and then I'm like, all right, that's a good. And then I just never circle back around. So I'm gonna say this one. I'm gonna say yours.
There we go.
Your podcast.
I love it.
That's the thing about like podcasts is like you really have to be paying attention to them. It's
Yeah.
not like music sometimes where you could just like put
Right.
it on and have background noises. Like there's a lot of podcasts that you really have to be focused in, concentrated. A lot of
Totally.
good stuff coming out of them.
Yeah, I like it because it's just in general, not to get too off track, but there's a lot of really short form media right now. Like with TikTok, there's like 20-second videos. But that kind of has created a space for some of this long form media too. So like the hour long conversations, you can almost feel like you're a part of that. Like when you're driving, maybe you're doing like stuff around the house, put the headphones in and kind of listen to it. So yeah, I think obviously it's really exploded over the past few years, but I think for a good reason. People can really dive into it and like be a part of the conversation more than they could before. Which is cool,
Absolutely.
All right, so we got one more question, and then we'll get into some of the your guys' background. So, any recent traveling? Been anywhere cool recently, or have any trips coming up?
I went to Boston recently
All right.
to watch my better half run the Boston Marathon. That was
That's right.
that was
Yeah.
a really cool trip. Like I told her, you watch it, and like right after, you're like, dang, like I kind of want to trade, but then the excitement kind of dies down a little bit. But no, I mean, you get chills watching these people from literally all over the world. I saw so many people from Mexico, from Asia, from Europe, running and competing and doing this milestone. So, I mean, that's something that like my girlfriend Margaret has been doing for almost like 2 years now and is going to continue doing in the future. So I'm excited to join her on wherever these journeys take her. She's already talking about doing like the Tokyo or
No way.
London at some point. So
That's cool.
that's something
Awesome.
I'll be
That's
excited
really cool.
to join.
That's huge.
You signing up? You
Yeah.
gotta sign up.
That's huge. I can't even run a mile without like. No, I'm working on my like conditions to like run and all that. You know?
Nice.
So I haven't been like a big person with like when it comes to like doing cardio and all that. No, I do cardio, but
Yeah.
I don't do lifting, and I
Sure.
have to start working on that. I've done that over the years, growing up in high school, sports and all that, but I got to get back to that. But anyways, no, I mean for me, I've done a lot of traveling. For me, growing up, I've been to different countries in Europe. I've been to Mexico quite a lot, visiting different states. I've been to Guatemala. I've been to Florida. I've been to a lot of the states. I've been to the West Coast.
Cool.
So I've done my traveling, but I'd like to get back to it. Maybe if I take a break from politics or something down the road. But I don't see me taking a break anytime soon. It's tough. But I do want to try. I do want to get a trip in this summer.
Cool.
Go somewhere, just go by myself or take someone. I don't know. I haven't planned anything. I've been so busy.
Yeah.
As legislator, there's a lot that I have to like do and taking care of.
Totally.
For sure, man.
You're staying pretty local for now.
Yeah, very, very local.
Cool. Anywhere you going, or anywhere you been recently?
No,
No.
I've been here
Yeah.
in the gym.
You've been
I've
throwing
here.
hands,
That's
yeah.
it. Yep. So
All right, so we'll get into the meat potatoes of the podcast next. Actually, before we do that, we're gonna take a quick break, just do a sound check, and then we'll get right into it. All right, and we are back. Chris said we sounded good, so we're back at it. So, getting into the origin story and kind of what got you guys into politics, and I did a little bit of research on this beforehand, so I know kind of how you guys got into this. But I want to kind of let you guys tell the story. So, I guess we can kind of open up the floor to both of you, kind of how this political journey started, and kind of where you're at now, and then we'll kind of get into the future, like what the plans are, what the goals are.
I'd like to assume that my brother got into politics because he started seeing everything that I was doing and he just looked up to me and just was like, all right, you know what? I'm going to do this too. It's like, all right. No, but
I'm gonna stop him right there because
no, but if you want to go ahead and answer, you want to start. Actually, you know what? He actually was thinking about running for office first before I did.
Oh, okay.
So
that's what I was about to say.
but I've always thought about politics. I've always thought about like these, like, but I just was like, I don't want to sell myself out, you know.
Sure.
And like have to become an elected official and deal with all these politicians and deal with like all these special interests and just like going against my morals and my values, which I right now, like I'm working on making sure that there's a strict like line of me not like doing things that are against my morals, my values.
Getting
That's
caught
great.
up in the bullshit, man. Yeah.
Dealing with a lot of like drama, dealing with a lot of like politics, and just dealing with a lot of back and forth people that just don't want to see people's lives improve.
That's
Nah,
tough.
well, I want to add to that because there's been politicians that have come here in the gym and they've come for a photo op, pizza and sodas with the kids, and then they're gone. And they come for the photo op. But I'll say I've seen both of you guys. You're two of the only dudes I've seen. I'm not gonna say only dudes, but you're two of the dudes that I know personally that are in the street when it's cold. You are in the street when it's dark outside. You are out there hustling and making noise for the community. So I respect the hell out of that. You know what I mean? So
Yes, appreciate it.
yeah, no. So I mean, just like how we got into politics, what I always say is like we just are active members of our community. Me and my brother were both born here in Providence, but our mom divorced our dad in the early 2000s. So most of our childhood we spent going back and forth between here in Providence and Iowa. So that's something I always tell people right off the bat because that experience growing up in a rural community at the same time, being here different years, being here on holiday breaks and whatnot here in the urban core, really gave us a strong perspective on the reality of different worlds. Even though nothing really changed, like for us, like physically, just our environments changed, whether we were in Iowa or here in Providence. So that really kind of just set the tone for the trajectory of our lives. But we both moved back here to Providence. I think my brother was like in 2015 and I was in 2016, 2017. So we just started getting involved in local organizations. We're both part of a neighborhood association in Oneyville. We helped start a political action committee with one of our friends as well. And then for me, the main reason I got into politics, or I decided to actually run for a elected official position, was just the opportunity that I had at the Providence City Council level. My current counselor was term limited. And so alongside him, there were 6 other counselors out of the 15 that were term limited. So I was going in there with 7 new people. So that opportunity alone was one that I couldn't pass up. To go in there with 6, 7 other new people that all are pretty similar in terms of principles and values, because it's just a complete dynamic change. We have a whole new council leadership. We have a new agenda, and that's kind of where we're at right now.
Cool.
Getting involved.
That's awesome. So when you say there was a big shift, like what was the I guess what was the values that were before versus what are you guys bringing now? Like what was the big difference?
Yeah, so politics is all about power.
Yeah.
People don't want to be honest sometimes. They think it's a little bit more than that. But holding a political office is really about power. If you have power on one side, you're going to get things done. And if you're on the opposition side, then you play an oppositional role, which is important at times. But the reason I wanted to get involved is like I want to make immediate changes. I want to do the work that needs to be done. But in terms of the folks that were term limited, a lot of them are good community members. They were in office 15, 20 years at that point. And once you're in office for that long in the same exact position, for the lack of better words, you either get jaded or you're just not as ambitious to change the system that you've been a part of. So
Totally.
I'm going in there with 4 or 5 other people who, I mean, we really don't care about our political careers. Like, we want to get things done now.
Yeah.
So we're already starting to make immediate changes on different zoning, different housing policies.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So, I mean, something that we just did right now, we're starting to do that, and for some people is considered radical, is just banning self-storage facilities in the city. We already have 15, 17 of them. And even though the current land is zoned for that type of use, it really doesn't do anything for the community. It just takes up space. It doesn't create jobs. It's taking up land that should be used for more useful purposes for the local community, such as low-income housing, for example.
Yeah. Versus storage for stuff.
Right.
That makes a lot of
we
sense.
have an op-ed in the Boston Globe. It's called "House People, Not Things." So you guys should take a look.
I mean,
at
who
it.
can argue against that? That makes a lot of sense.
So even though something so small and banning one type of development, like we're already getting a lot of pushback by like the industry, and some of like the city administration folks aren't like super on board. But it's just having those conversations, being a little bit more innovative on how we're creating policies that benefit our communities.
That's really cool.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it is about power, but we're trying to change that. There's a lot of old guard politics and not just Providence, but across Rhode Island. There's no term limits for state reps and for state senators, and that's a problem because the Senate president, he's been there for 40 years.
Oh my God.
40 years.
40 years.
40 years. And I'll say his name. His name is Dominic Ruggiero. He represents North Providence. There's my predecessor was there for 30 years. She was there since 1992. And just like, what is wrong? What is like, dude, like, come on. Like, and then there's reps who've been there for 10, 15, okay, maybe like a max at like 8 or 10 is like sufficient, but like people have been there for 15, 20, 30, 40 years, and it's just like, come on, let's give other people opportunities, and there's just that thirst for power to be an elected official. I approach my work trying to be as humble as I can because I have to deal with a lot of pushback from all across the aisle. I deal with the racism from the older white Italian Portuguese people, right? But I also deal with like the hating or like the jealousy or whatever from other Latino or Black community members, So before I started dealing with all of that, I told myself, all right, I have to deal with all types of people, like how are they gonna assume what kind of person I'm gonna be as an elected official? So I gotta be as just humble as I can, be responsive, respond to everyone, talk to everyone, listen more than anything, and just be there as a resource. Don't look at me as a politician. Don't look at me as an elected official. I tell people, don't call me state rep. It's fine. Call me Enrique. And just look at me as a resource. Look at me as like a support. Where can I help you? Where can I connect you with? Who can I connect you with? Who can I, lean you in the right direction? And that's how I'm approaching my work. Just being that resource and support, not being that, oh, there comes Enrique in his suits. There comes that politician, another politician. Like, no. Don't look at me like that. I don't consider myself like an elitist. I don't consider myself like a typical politician. And that's the kind of politics that we need to break in order for the general public to see that they can get along with their elected officials, to see that they can get along, that they can have conversations with their reps, with their senators, with their council members, with their, whatever, right? Yeah. And that's how I've been trying to approach that work. I got into this to actually make a difference, okay? That's as cool. State reps and senators, and I'm gonna try to see if I can. This needs to be more public for the people to see. State reps and senators aren't making a lot of money. positions, we're making between $15,000 to $20,000 a year because we're part time as legislators. The governor, the mayor, the treasurer, the whatever, they all make that's more money, in these positions. But I think the general public assumes that a state rep and senator is already making a lot of money, or that representative or that senator or that council person is rich or wealthy, and that's not the case. We're trying to get working class people of all diverse backgrounds, of all, it doesn't matter what ethnicity, what color skin you are, whatever, whatever God you preach to, whatever, but just making sure that you're helping people, making sure that you're part of the working class, making sure that everyday working people are benefiting from the policies and initiatives that you want to introduce or that you want to get passed, because there's no denying most communities can come together when it comes to economic policy. Everyone wants to see their taxes down. Everyone wants to pay. Everyone doesn't want to see a major developer get a major tax break. They don't want to see people like the wealthy elites, the few, the rich, the powerful, keep getting tax breaks, keep getting subsidies and all that. We want to see real affordable, low income affordable housing. We want to see a great public education system. We want to see low cost of living, salaries going up, wages being sustainable in order to pay those bills. So those are the policies that I'm trying to focus on to make sure that we're bringing working class communities together.
Absolutely, man. No, that's what with that affordable housing. For what was it 3-4 weeks ago over there in the West End, and we were sitting there talking about it, and you bring up the tax breaks, and you got these colleges that get these tax breaks, but then you have these public schools that are in awful conditions, and it's
Right.
if you were the president of Brown or PC, you should be embarrassed, knowing that you're getting these tax breaks in the state, and there's kids that are going to these schools in this condition and don't have the resources. And it's come on, man. You should. Those tax breaks should come with public support, specifically for the schools. If you got the best colleges in the country in our own state, we should have the best public schools in our state. You know what I mean? It should trickle down. It can't just be yeah, we're good here, and we worry about kids coming from Connecticut, New Jersey that are gonna come in and they bring the money in to go to the college and all that. But what about the Providence kids? What about the Rhode Island kids? You know what I mean? So, and then going back to term limits, if you have 2, 4, 8 years, whatever you want to call it, if I knew I had 2 years to make a difference, I'm gonna light a fire under my ass to make a difference. Because after the 2 years, I got to go back into that community and walk the streets with my dog, and people are gonna throw eggs at me. You know what I mean? So I need, if I know I got term limit, hey, I'm gonna do what I can do to make it better.
Right.
And then go back to throwing a punch, swinging a hammer, making a coffee, whatever your job was, you go back to doing that, and then, people either dig you for what you've done, or they're gonna, or you just didn't do anything, and then you gotta go hide in your basement, So all right.
Yeah.
So.
It's something that I just want to quickly add that my brother touched on very little bit. So something that I'm super big and vocal on is we need to change the systems of power, not necessarily the people, because we waste a lot of energy and time right now either advocating for someone or against someone. Someone's not doing the right job. But what we see is the institution that person is, we'll just replace them with someone the same or even worse, and then we're at point A. So what I'm really big on is really trying to change the dynamics of power that exist in our local government. So right now at City Council, we have completely done that. Council President Miller is very open with the other 14 of us in terms of introducing stuff, talking about different ideas. She doesn't play favorites. Usually what we see with leadership team is it's 8 and 7. So the 8 people will introduce their agenda, and then the other 7 are kind of just left playing an oppositional role. So what she has done is really opened up the body for all of us to play an active role in whatever legislation we want to introduce. We're super fluid. I would say most of us, 13, 14 of us, are really on the same train tracks, going the same direction in terms of what our vision is for the city. So that's very big. Something that I'm already gonna start advocating for, and definitely on my way out, is making city councilors full time. So right now, what we see, my brother touched on a little bit. There's not a lot of people that look like this in these institutions, and that's just because it's not a sustainable lifestyle for a working class person to be a part of. They have session middle of the day on a Tuesday when most folks have other full time jobs and responsibilities. So that's something that I'm really gonna push for because there's full time work. So by creating the position as a city councilor, state rep full time, it opens up the door to a lot more other people. Because what we see right now, especially at the state house, is we see people like lawyers that have the flexibility to show up whenever they want. So people like that have always had a more louder presence in these types of institutions.
There's a lot of lawyers in the House of Representatives and the Senate, and it's just like, all right, I literally see some of my colleagues just show up and then just like leave. Like for now, they just show up for the votes and that's it. They just show up for entourage, just like I'm here. All right, I'm leaving. Like, and it's just like, bro, like guys, like we got things to discuss here. We have to debate. We have to discuss the specific policies, the specific bills that are being presented on the House floor, like why this is good, why this is bad. And it's just like my brother mentioned, a lot of lawyers in that House in state government with the flexibility, with time. And it's just like we need people who are dealing with.
Do you think it's them being burnt out on the hurdles of change, or is it more that they just don't care and they're just abusing the position of power, or a little bit of both?
So there's this motion that there has been a change in state government. Like we're becoming like more progressive within the House of Representatives. We have a Speaker of the House. His name is Joe Shekarchi, who who's more progressive than his predecessor, which was Nicholas Mariello. He's a Cranston rep. And yeah, I mean, you can see on clear paper, you can see the way things are done. There is some change, we are focusing on, some good policies with housing, I'm trying to push us on education because we don't want to touch the education funded formula. We don't want to tweak it so that communities are getting more money, especially Providence. That's what I've been advocating for. But there has been that environment that has become more open, more inclusive, more progressive, whatever. But in my personal opinion, it's still not enough, especially now with how things are economically. The economic burden that communities are facing during this pandemic. I don't want to say it's over because we're still dealing with health crisis, but now we're also dealing with the financial burdens, the high cost of living, the extremely excessive high cost of rent, mortgage. Wages aren't going up, inflation rates are up, everything's so expensive, food, drinks, equipment, things in the restaurant scenes, the nightlife scenes, everything is up now. Everything's, and people are just like, we're just like, okay, how can I take care of myself or my family during the week financially? During the week, pay my bills, make sure that our kids are getting to school, making sure I'm taking care of myself, paying my student loans off, whatever, paying my utility costs. And how can I also afford to go get a drink at night? How can I afford to go travel? How can I afford to do extra stuff for myself, take care of myself when everything is just so expensive? And that's what I'm just trying to emphasize within my colleagues to make sure that we are doing our job and everyone's showing up and we are addressing the issues and taking this serious because people's lives are at stake. People's lives depend on the decisions that we make in the House, in the Senate, within the governor's office, and I just see not enough. We're making progress, we're making strides, but we need to do more, a lot
Throttle
more,
up,
and we can do that.
One of the things that I was watching one of your interviews with I forget the name of it. It was a virtual interview. I think it was when you guys were running. It was I forget the name of the show that you guys are on, but two of the big things you guys have already mentioned this, but one of the big missions you guys have. One was education, and the other one was affordable housing. Are those still two two of the big things that you guys are working on pushing forward, or have some other things started to come up that you're working on?
Yeah, so I mean, those are definitely the two of the biggest issues facing our communities. It's no secret that the Providence Public School District has been struggling for decades now. Unfortunately, right now it's a little more difficult in terms of advocating. Not advocate. We can always advocate, but in terms of like changing policies because it's under state control. So the Department of Education is running it right now. But what we are doing already is working with the mayor's office in terms of creating some sort of plan for when it does come back into the control of the city, which right now is planned for the fall of 2024, I believe.
cool.
So it is going to be coming down to us in the near future. So that's kind of where we're at. But just something that I always tell to anyone, anytime I get a platform, just the main sign of a productive, thriving society is the quality of the public education district in that community. So it's our future. Really, to say the least, it's a lot of kids that we've been failing for decades. Just not having sufficient building for them to attend, not giving them the opportunities in school and outside school to show them that they can do whatever they want with their life. We just really gotta give them those resources and opportunities, because that's their mission is to see and learn with what they're given, and then for them to decide. My biggest thing is like a lot of our youth, like they just need one person to believe in them, to show them that a productive life in whatever capacity you want, whether you want to be a professional, whether you want to be in the trades, in a nonprofit. I think is very suiting that we're taping this in a building that gives so many kids, so many urban youth the opportunity to do something else with their life. Sports was always a big part of my life growing up. Especially a sport like boxing. I wrestled growing up, and it really just shows you the basics of life, having discipline, patience, a team sport sometimes, or like boxing sometimes is just you. There's no one else to blame but yourself. So that type of stuff is super important. So education definitely has to be at the forefront of every elected official in the state right now in terms of priorities. But yeah, the second, if not first, I really don't want to number it because everyone's life is different. But this housing, just go look for an apartment right now in Providence and tell me it's not a crisis. Especially for folks that are in the middle or lower income classes. It's just the stock. There's just nothing out there. There's even folks in my neighborhood who have like Section 8 vouchers that just can't find a place to use it at, so they have to give it back to the federal government. So like I mentioned earlier, taking a look at the zoning, really what we just all need to be prioritizing is building more housing. I'm not a big proponent of like building like market rate and luxury housing. But if the opportunity does come, then any housing is better than no housing. But where I do kind of draw a line with that type of development is most of these folks will ask for a tax break from the city to have luxury condos. And for like me, that's just like a broken formula. You shouldn't be getting tax incentives to charge $4,000 for a 2-bedroom apartment. It's not the answer, in my opinion. It is going to house someone, but that someone might be coming from Boston that has that type of salary. So we're really not fixing the issue that we have currently, which is Providence residents that live here now, who have lived here for decades, don't have a place to live, and that's kind of where my priorities at in terms of housing.
Absolutely, man. And you touched on two things that, with the housing in my neighborhood. I've seen a lot of families get pushed out just because price points are rising, and like you said, wages aren't rising. Your rent's rising, but your pay's not rising. And something's got to be done there to keep families in Providence, because Providence is only as good as the families that live in Providence, right?
Yeah.
And then with what Lamont's doing, and with gloves up, guns down, and I'm I'm supporting him as much as I can. I mean, we see kids come in here, and most of the kids that come in here, most of them aren't gonna become professional boxers, but they come in here with their hands in the pocket, head down, and the minute they realize that Coach Lamont believes in them, I believe in them, like, they smile, they gain that confidence. And it's not just about, hey, producing fighters. It's about producing, like, human being, like a dude that's like a kid that's gonna come in here and, hey, one person believes in them, they're gonna leave with that, and they're gonna make just just get better and try harder in school, try harder with whatever they're doing, and they'll come to us and ask us questions, life questions, not how to throw a jab, like questions about life. What should I do after school? Just things like that. And so you become this mentor, inside and outside of the ring. You know what I mean? Yeah, we're learning how to throw punches, but we're also learning how to, survive and live. And, like, a lot of these kids are dealing with stuff that adults couldn't even, handle. So it's not fair for them to have to navigate through that alone. And so, we need more support. You guys need more support. We need more support because the kids need more support. So anybody that's supporting families and youth in Providence, I'm all for it. I'll throw everything behind you. You know what I mean? And that's what brought me here. And me and Lamont, we just become friends, and that's what we're trying to do. We're just trying to, just boom, give these kids a place where people believe in them.
Right.
And that it compounds, man, and it changes the course of the direction for their lives. So like, I mean, I can't. It's needed. You know what I mean? So yeah.
So one other thing, kind of to branch off of that, before this podcast, I know one of the teachers who teaches over at the Hope Academy, which is that located in the South Side? Or is that, do you know what district that is exactly? I think it's off of off to look up at. It's somewhere in that area, Hope Academy. And I was asking him, I'm like, hey, I'm getting Enrique and Miguel on. They're really big into, like, making sure education is a forefront in Providence. And I'm like, as a teacher, and he's taught in a couple different schools. He's taught at Ocean Tides, which is, I don't know if that's in Providence, but it's a school just basically to help these kids that are have gotten into trouble in the past.
Yeah.
He's taught at a couple different schools, so he has a little bit of perspective on a few different areas. I'm like, what do you think? Just to kind of echo some of the things he said. And he said most teachers, especially coming out of school, they want to help. That's what they're passionate about. They want to help the kids. Yeah. But a lot of them will end up getting burnt out when the ratios that you're supposed to have, all of a sudden there's not enough teachers in the school, and you're supposed to teach a class of 20, and all of a sudden it's looking like a class of 30, and then 35, and then there's like, and you end up all of a sudden working all these other jobs that you weren't really signing up for. Like, okay, now you're doing all this administrative tasks on it. Now you're doing this, so the teachers are starting to get burnt out, and a lot of them are starting to look like, okay, what other jobs are out there other than this public school? Like, maybe I'll go to, like, this private school instead. Maybe I'll go to this charter school instead. So, and obviously, like, pay and benefits is a big thing for the teachers as well. But yeah, he was like, listen, like, anyone who's trying to support, like, Providence schools, like, especially the public schools, I'm all about it. Because I even like what you said earlier, if you can support the kids in the schools, it's a long-term growth, but that's going to support the city in general. Right. Like, those kids are going to get better jobs. They're going to give back to their city. It's just going to be overall just better for the city. So yeah,
yeah. So as an educator for the last few years, I've seen firsthand the issues at, like, 4 different schools. I was at the Alvarez High School, Mount Pleasant High School, and Juanita Sanchez, and then Central. And I automatically started seeing, like, the negative implications that educators are dealing with issues with, like, their students sometimes, or with the administration, or just, like, the learning environment. Okay, the kids here aren't the problem. The teachers aren't the problem. It's the structures of power. It's decisions made within the school district. It's decisions made within RIDE, the Rhode Island Department of Education. It's decisions made within local government, city and state governments, the school board. And it's not to say that we're not trying to do our best, but a lot of times we just don't understand what's happening in the classes because we're not seeing what these youth are dealing with, what the teachers are dealing with. And that's what I always tell the people, like whenever there's a meeting, whenever there's town halls or school board meetings or in political settings, not everyone has seen what's been what people are, what our teachers and our students and parents and school communities are dealing with in the classroom and schools, because we're not there.
Right.
We have no connection to it. We don't understand. We don't have empathy. We don't have compassion, and that's the number one issue. So that's the number one like problem that we need to address, making sure that our communities are learning or know what's happening at different schools across Providence. My brother touched base on the schools going back to the city by fall of 2024. I am going to go ahead and say, and not be naive about it, that our commissioner is going to try to extend that state takeover of the schools. I think they're going to try to repeal what we have right now called the Crowley Act to make sure that the Elementary and Secondary Education Council gives more time to the commissioner and RIDE for a longer period of state takeover of the schools of Providence. And I've been vocal about that. There's a major disagreement on how things are going between myself, some other colleagues in our local delegation of Providence, with like the current administration, governor's office, RIDE, and some members of the city government, local government. But what can I say? It's been a hostile environment for our teachers. A lot of teachers have been leaving the schools. Have been leaving the school districts. Like over 300 teachers have left Providence schools over the last 2 years. And that's because the commissioner is just like, or the current settings around with the schools and during COVID have created educators to choose alternatives across other careers, other fields. And we're seeing a lot of like just disruption. We're seeing school closures. We're starting to see school closures. I put in a bill to make sure that we don't just shut down 3 schools without building 3 schools up. Yeah. Like, what is the intention between like their argument is that the schools are falling apart. Okay, I understand. Yes, we need to fix these schools, but like, there's no plan set in place to rebuild new schools. Mm-hmm. What's going to happen with it? And they still have not been public about what's going to happen in those properties when those schools are closed. So it's just like, to me, it seems like there's an attack on public education, and I've been vocal about it. I think the current leadership in education in Providence, Rhode Island, are trying to like break our public education system to bring in more charter schools. Yeah. And I understand the appetite for a better learning environment for our youth, especially our Latino and Black youth, or who are the majority, the bulk of the school district is made up of Black and Latino students. But the parents, a lot of parents have appetite for charter schools, right? Because they think that's the only alternative. I personally think that we can reform public education by like doing a complete 360 change of our curriculum that's taught in schools, and increase wages for teachers, for substitutes, for advisors, for assistant teachers. Invest in our current schools. Maybe like try to like not have too many schools, but not just close schools up because we think they're falling apart or whatever. And that's what I think that the current leadership at RIDE is trying to do with the school district. And it's a bunch of folks in those positions that aren't part of the community, have not really been part of the community, maybe 1 or 2 people, but like the majority of those people within RIDE have no ties to the community, don't know what's happening, don't understand that it's not just the education system that's been failing, it's been poverty. Poverty that has been affecting these kids, families, parents, from actively changing the schools. And so everything, housing, healthcare, wages, lack of opportunities, showing compassion and love and empathy for these kids to make sure that they're becoming also politicians, doctors, directors of nonprofits, not just become police officers, military members, not just become, go into trades. Like, yes, all of those careers are good, but we need to teach them to also be leaders. I've told school board members, I've told other colleagues in their faces, I've told them, I've said in public, I want our youth to replace us. I want our youth to become the leaders that we are in. Like,
Absolutely.
And let's not just have the typical politician, in a suit, whatever. Like, let's recruit working class people. Let's recruit youth to start developing transparency, to start developing awareness and understanding of government, local government and national government, and giving these kids the tools and equipment that they need to be successful. Yeah. And it just seems like we're not doing that.
Well, you know what, too? Bringing up the fact that, a lot of people that make the decisions for the community don't live in the community. So there's a separation there. And it kind of reminds me of, it's that whole, if it's your kid, you're gonna make sure everything's proper. But, once you have that separation, it's not my kid, then it's not your problem. And it's like that's a shitty way to think about it. It's a wrong way to think about it. And it's kind of like, I was having a conversation with a buddy of mine, and we were talking about how police officers should live in the communities that they police, because then those kids that look like targets aren't targets anymore. You actually know the kids, and you build this rapport, and instead of shooting at the kid or whatever, or the kids shoot at, it's like you guys can go shoot hoops together. You can have a conversation. You can solve problems and learn from each other. So that way you're not driving around and you're not viewing people as threats, and they're not viewing you as a threat. You know what I mean? And it's like, so it's the same thing where if you're making decisions for a community, you should have ties into that community. Yeah, I'm not saying it's like, I am saying you should be in, a community member. Like, I mean,
it's all about trust.
Big time.
That's what we're getting to. It's like I was going to touch on it when you were talking about the kids that come in here and start asking you about questions that have nothing to do with boxing. It's because you've developed that trust already inside here with that connection through the sport that opens up their lenses for like, oh, I'm struggling with this part of my life as well. And I trust you because you've been helping me with this part. So you just start having conversations. And that's how it is with our local law enforcement. Up until this year, like I could probably name like one or two officers in my area, and that was someone that was already somewhat engaged in the community. So that's something that I've talked to my lieutenant is have your officers go out to different businesses, talk to folks, just bring everything back on a human basis. Remove our titles, our badges, our uniforms, and just talk to folks that have been here already. You just started on this police department a year ago. You probably live in Warwick. Like, talk to this business owner that's been at this bodega for 20 years and get to know him and see what some of his struggles are. Because I bet some of the struggles you think that he's struggling are probably not even on his radar. So it's really just about trust and being open and just having conversations at the end of the day.
All day. I mean, there's a boxing program in, I think it's the Bronx, and it's run by the police, NYPD, and the whole premise behind it was to bridge that gap, to be able to be, hey, listen, cops aren't the bad guys, the kids aren't the bad guys, and they get to know each other and they build that trust. And me and Coach Lamont were talking about, one, this facility is just it's too small for, we can help more kids in a larger facility. And we're looking over on the West End and right next to the police station, and we were talking about bringing the police into the gym. So then you have the police working with the kids, and it's just, you're putting it together because that's needed. It's needed because of that trust. And now, you're not viewing each other as threats, and you're building the community up. And it's, it's just, it's something has been needed for a long time, because, you grow up and, it's this code of the streets, and it's the code of the cops, where it's like, you got to protect your own, and you blah, 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 blah. And it's just, it's all bullshit. At the end of the day, it's all bullshit, because I think most people want to help. And I think we all have more in common whether we're whether we're in the hood, whether we're a cop, whether we're white, black, or brown, whatever we are, we have more in common than we think, and we just have different styles. And it's like that's all it is. But everything's I think we all wanna see our kids succeed. Like regardless, like even if you don't have kids, if you want to help kids, you know what I mean. It's just like so. I just think that conversation has never really been had, or no one's ever taken that step on the level that's been needed to make that happen. You get it here, you get it there, but it's fragmented. It's not strong. So the more you can kind of put it together and make it sustainable. That's the thing too. You'll have a lot of these programs and groups, and they'll last for 3 years, and then they're gone. And I don't know if the group was just trying to collect data for some higher thing, whatever, to just report up to. But I've seen these programs come through and nothing sustains. It's just like, drop in a pan, you help a couple kids, and then boom, it's gone. Like, oh yeah, it used to be a community center here, and it's all based on funds. Ran out of money. Everybody ran out of money, and it's like, but then you see all these other people that got shit ton of money, and you're like, you didn't run out of money. You just stopped giving it to these kids. You know what I mean? And that's what it is. Like, you didn't run out of anything. So
that really just starts in our priorities as a society. I'm just like, in terms of like national politics, I'll be honest, I'm just completely jaded out. Both parties, at the end of the day, in my opinion, have the same corporate interests. That's where their priorities are. So obviously, I am a Democrat. I'm a registered Democrat. I believe Democrats at the national level are still miles ahead of the other party in terms of like social priorities. But in terms of like economic and health and education priorities, we spend way more on healthcare than most developed countries, and we're still so behind. So I mean, even like how we treat our veterans when we come back, we are miles ahead of every developed country in terms of military spending. But at the same time, we still have like, I think the stat, unfortunately, is like 20 veterans a day committing suicide because we don't take care of the people that are in this country. So the point I was getting to in terms of that, because that's a very important piece in my lens when legislating is creating programs that are sustainable and are very digestible in terms of implementation as a city. Because right now we're going to start our budget. The mayor is giving his budget to us city councilors on Tuesday. City councilors have 6 weeks to add, remove stuff. So that's kind of the way I lens that is. Like, we have money for X, Y, and Z, then we definitely have money to take care of our youth. The conversation we're speaking about. And it's all about priorities and having the political will to make sure those priorities stay at the forefront.
Well, no, that's the thing. It's a huge mental health crisis, huge. And that's the thing too. With even here in the gym, it's not just you come in here and you work on your feet. You do have an outlet for for your mental health, because you'll come in here, you could be angry, you can be dealing with some stuff, and that physical exertion and having that outlet actually calms your mind and allows you to think, and clears your head. And it's funny. I was telling my buddy a couple of days ago in the same conversation, we were talking about I said you know what, because everybody, we don't have any money, and I said, why don't we just, instead of having the cops drive around the neighborhood, right? Drive. It's like, I said to him, have you ever seen a firefighter drive around looking for a fire? Right? You ain't driving around looking for a fire, right? So it's like, if there's a fire, they go to the fire, right? So it's like, but the cops in the neighborhood driving around, it's like, what's the gas price? Just the gas price alone for like a year, annual gas per tag on that right there. So it's like, if you took that number and the cops stayed at the station, and if there was an issue, they can respond to the issue. But what would that number be in dollars for every gallon of gas saved from not driving around looking for problems? Because then also too, that creates, if you're driving around looking for a problem, problems are gonna pop up that may not be there.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's
start creating them in your head. Yeah.
Yeah, that whole cat mouse game. and it's just like it's another kind of side of the coin that we talk about, but nothing's. I don't.
Yeah, no, it's just at the end of the day, like the conversation that I have with folks, just about being fiscally responsible. Like usually, I would say I'm a lot more forward thinking person. I try to stay away from words like progressive because they mean something different for everyone. So I just try to use like adjectives that like everyone can really relate to. And the thing with like public safety, including fire department and police, we spend way more than other cities our size, and at that point the conversation is about what are we doing physically like that's different from other. Our crime right now for the most part is pretty low, but at the same time the police department wants to keep running up academies, and my thing is like just show us the data, like what are you seeing that like I'm not seeing. Like that's what it's all about, is transparency and accountability. Those are the two things that are missing in government, local government. A lot of times is one, we all talk about transparency, but we know a lot of things happen behind the scenes. That's something that we should try to get away from. And two is just being held accountable. If you have a budget of $2 million for overtime, then you shouldn't be going over that unless we have the data that backs up. We had this many incidents, this many fires that really equates to that. Because there's a couple of like economic nonprofits that have been like showing us like instead of that money going to fire and public safety, it really should be going to like parks and recreation.
Absolutely.
That's where we create opportunities, takes out some of these rooted causes of lack of development, lack of opportunities. So that's really where I start the conversation is like, so I'll take my step back. I think something that we must do as a society, as a city, is define the role of a police officer. Should a police officer be at a construction site for 10 hours a day directing traffic? In my opinion, probably not. So I mean, there's things like that we really just need to do a better job on, in my opinion.
Well, like what I hear a lot too. I hear that whole when it comes to like any type of federal fund, it's like, oh, if we don't use it, then we lose it. So then they gotta burn it. Like it's like they end up, you gotta burn through it to get the next yearly fiscal whatever it is. And it's like, that's just a stupid mentality. Like, that makes no sense to me. It's like, if I have all this, like, I don't need more. Like, I have this. Right. Like, and I'm not just gonna burn this so I can get another bag. Right. Like, it's like, no, let's put that one over there.
Right.
Like, give that one to the kids. Like, we're good over here. We got this one. Yep. You take that one, put it over there. The kids take that one, put it over there for mental health. Now you got bags moving over here instead of me just be like, give me the bag, give me the bag, give me the bag. Like, hey, Matt, burn that one. Otherwise, you don't get that one. Like, what the fuck? Like, that's so short-sighted, and it's stupid. And you know who's paying for that? The kids. The kids that are coming up. The next wave of kids that aren't getting those resources. So you're burning resources so you can get more resources, and but it's like that's selfish. That it reminds me of that. You ever heard of that the corn seed story? The guy who had the corn seed. There's this old story. He's a farmer. I don't even know if it's true, right? But the story's dope. The guy has like this prize corn seed, right? It's the best corn seed, and he gives it to his neighbors. And this dude's like, yo, man, what are you giving your seed? That's your seed. That's like your, it's award-winning seed. And he goes, listen, it's like if I don't give my seed to Matt, Enrique, and Miguel, what happens is your corn is gonna affect my crop. Like if you have shitty, seeds, it's gonna eventually affect my crop. But if I give you my seed, I give you yours, and now my crop's stronger because you're stronger and you're stronger. And then you do that, you give your seed, next thing you know, everybody's strong.
Dominoes.
It's like, it's a stupid corn seed story, but the analogy is like, it's so true. It's like, that's what it is. It's like, I mean, it's as simple as a stupid corn seed story. You know what I mean? It's like, yo, give the resources to the people that need it, and you know it's just you got to strengthen everybody. But
So
It's just having like the strength of the community like at the forefront of everything you do. Like
Yeah.
if you have $10 and you don't need that $10, like give the $8 back and it'll come back to you eventually at some point. Like, that's something that like our mom always like instilled us early on, is like give like whenever you can. Like this is a world that depends on the kindness of others. That
absolutely, be kind.
One thing that I do want to bring up, and I don't know if we can just switch
yeah.
topics.
Yeah.
I think something that we can improve on is, in order to improve our education system, the lives of our youth, the living conditions in our communities. So, look, Providence is changing, right? We all know this, right? We know a lot of neighborhoods are changing. A lot of people are moving. New people are coming in. Providence is attracting a lot of people from all parts of the country.
Yep.
From the world. And so, okay, people are moving into communities, the east side, the west end, north end, the south side, Elmwood, west end, Oneyville, Silver Lake, Hartford Park, whatever, Elmhurst, anywhere in Providence, who just moved here last year, who just moved here 2 years ago, all right? Don't have ties to the community, don't have kids in the education system, couples, individuals, single people, whatever. All right. Why is this so hard? Or what can we do to make sure that couple or that individual goes to a football game, goes to a high school basketball game, goes to a volleyball game, goes to an after school community events at that Providence public school or that charter private, whatever, participates as active. It's not just in their house working on the computer from home, from 9 to 5, and that's it. Like it just goes out to a bar in the West End or in Federal Hill or on the East Side, and just we need to in order for us to move as a society or move forward as a city, why can't we recommend or advise or champion that thought? All right. Talk about words like gentrification. We talk about the word a bunch of there's this conversation, and please don't get offended if I say this, right? Let's just saying the truth in our communities. A lot of folks talk about, there's a lot of people from Boston, New York, professional developers, wealthy people, moving into communities, working class people. Okay, whatever. Let's tune that out. Why is it so hard for folks, or what can we do to make sure individuals and couples who just have moved here to Providence, also get involved in their local community space, in their local nonprofit area, or something to do with community gardens, or get involved in the school system, get involved by going to a school, going to an institution, and volunteering, participating. And I don't see that a lot, and it's an issue. And I'm telling you this because I've been at 4 different high schools. I've seen only some of the parent involvement from these kids. It's very low still. But I haven't seen people who are part of the community but aren't part of the community.
Yeah.
They don't participate. So that's what I've always been telling my people, friends who just moved here last year, moved here 2 years ago, moved here 3 years ago, whatever. All right, you wanna feel like you're making a change, so at Central, volunteer at PCTA, volunteer at SMS your school, volunteer at Carl Laurel School, volunteer, go and be at these spaces.
You need more, you need more
saying?
active participation.
Yeah,
Everybody, we've, due to COVID and whatnot, everybody had to sit at home and you're isolated and you got your phone and you're sitting there scrolling and whatnot. And I see it all the time, everybody does it from time to time where, you're gonna post a motivational quote, right? You post a quote, and I was in the animal sheltering world a long time, and I would see people. This was like 10, 12 years ago. People on Facebook would be sharing, this dog in Brooklyn, da da da, this dog in Connecticut, da da. But what about the dog in Providence? And also, what are you doing other than just sitting in front of a screen, just telling everybody about the problems? What are you doing
exactly.
physically? Are you going to your local shelter and walking the dog? Mm-hmm. Are you going to your local gloves up, guns down, and working with a kid how to box? Are you going to your local CrossFit gym and you're gonna, help someone in your community, help elderly woman in the road do air squats and show her how she can, keep her mobility as she ages? it's you got to be more active. Like those motivational quotes are cool, but if you're sitting there and you're just posting 20, 30 motivational quotes, like, yo, like those are for you.
Do something.
Those are
Yeah.
for you to get off your ass and be more active.
You're posting that for yourself.
That's not for me. That's not like I'm out here doing it. Like you're out here doing it. He's out here. We're out here doing
man.
it. Like, that's for you to get up and go do something.
Right.
Like that's what it is. It's like, and so yeah, I agree. Like people need to be more active. And I think a lot of things are cyclical where it's like I think we're coming around to that. I think people have been in front of screens way too long. And I think now people got to be, you know what, boom, we got to do more because a lot of things have been happening and we do have to come together. We can't be fragmented and, but again, if you're in that survival mentality, like you are fragmented and you are, it's like you are kind of like a squirrel where it's like, oh shit, like boom, you move, like I see people, everybody now is afraid to look at each other. You walk by each other, head down, boom, and you keep it moving. You don't want any interaction, and that's just walking down Broadway to get a coffee,
Right. Yeah.
And it's like it's what it is right now. But
So I do want to be respectful of you guys' time. We're
Yeah.
just over the hour mark here, so I'm going to start to wrap this up. I'm going to have you guys leave us with one more thing. So just to end on a positive note, because I know we talked about a lot of the issues and the problems and things we want to do to get better. So give me one thing that you're excited for coming up in the city, just in general. Could be an event, could be something that's going on. And then tell people, I guess, where they can find you and what they can do to support.
So I mean, something locally that's exciting that's happening right now is the start of Little League.
Nice.
I know Elmwood started this weekend. Next weekend, I believe Mount Pleasant and Silver Lake start. So I mean, I know Mount Pleasant definitely is still looking for like volunteer assistant coaches and head coaches. So reach out to those organizations, see if you can get looped in and help out. And then in terms of like city stuff coming up. Like I mentioned earlier, the budget is going to be making its way around to us. So that's something to keep an eye out on, because that's really where you see the priorities of the city is in this budget. And then at the same time, with that work, the city every 10 years does a comprehensive plan or the comp plan. And that really just outlines for the next 10 years, like where we want to see growth at the city, where we want to see more development. So in terms of like zoning, different parking minimum, stuff like that. So there's definitely going to be opportunities to participate in that. If you see something in your neighborhood that you'd be like, oh, we should probably be developing this land, or we should probably need like a supermarket in this part of the neighborhood, like that's something where you should get plugged in and voice your opinions and thoughts. So the budget and the comp plan are stuff that we're working at the city level that are definitely good avenues to participate in your local democracy. And then in terms of where you can find me, I'm on all the social medias. If you just search up my name, Miguel Sanchez, my phone number is out there as well too. Facebook, my address is out there. If you want to come knock on my door, I've had a few neighbors do that, and that's completely
Awesome.
fine. We work for the people. I mean, you guys put us there, so
Cool.
that's what we're there for.
Love that.
Yeah, to add on from legislation side, we just passed legislation in the House. It still has to pass the Senate and then signed by the governor, but hopefully we can get it through all chambers of government. The ban on rental application fees. That's, I mean, look, from a landlord or someone who owns multiple properties, whatever, like, all right, like that's a lost source of revenue. But right now we need to do more to protect tenants' rights, to uplift tenants' rights. And this is me coming from I don't have properties myself, but I have a lot of friends and family and people in my circles who own properties, who have multiple houses, who have several houses, whatever. And I have seen, because I've been paying attention to like different stories, and I've been speaking to tenants in my district and other parts of the city and from the state as well. You know, we were hearing how some landlords take advantage of tenants have rental application fees, and you know they stack them up and they get thousands of dollars from folks when they just take advantage of them. So that's something that's good from the pro tenant perspective, to try to elevate and balance the housing crisis, the housing market stuff. this year, whether or not you support this or not, I just want to put that out there. Some of the big bills this year are to codify the abortion coverage through the Medicaid, the ACA. Wherever you stand on that, also there's a bill to make sure that we ban military assault weapons from our communities. Those are some of the priorities, some of the bills that are out there that have been drawing a lot of attention and a lot of perspectives to the state house. There's that back and forth between pro-choice, pro-choice, pro-life, and then the pro-gun, and more of like let's regulate weapons and all that. Okay, we know those are controversial policies, right? But I want to see us focus on doing more to address housing. Stuff to address the zoning across our states. Our zoning in Providence is not good, I'd say, compared to other states. Zoning in other communities as well is not the best. We need to make sure that we push for more low-income, affordable housing, ranges between 30 to 50% AMI, not market rate units. We do more to address the homelessness crisis through implementing more mental health, substance abuse programs, etc., and champion mental health. I think that's the big thing that we need to do right now. Champion within government the need to address mental health, state and local level. And those are some of the things that.
Awesome. Cool. Good stuff, man. And where can people find you?
Oh, yeah. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, WhatsApp, Enrique Sanchez. You can look me up. House rep. That's it.
Awesome.
And I try to post a lot, and I'm trying to work on getting my emailing lists as well out there. I've sent out one email to a bunch of folks, but I'm trying to work on the last 2 months. It's just been really busy.
Really cool. Love it. Well, that was an awesome conversation. Thank you so much for being on, guys. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having us.
And good luck in the next few weeks and months.
Thank you.
Welcome. All right. Rhody Strength signing off.